Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about getting our spaceship to finally start moving. So in the last video, we finished up with a small challenge for you guys to come up with the properties for the spaceship object. So this was the template we gave you, and we gave these hints down here. So let's take a look at the editor. So you're probably wondering where you should be putting in your spaceship object code. So if we put it up here, it means that we're going to be able to access our spaceship object anywhere we want in our code because it's defined at the top, which makes it a global variable. If we were to define it inside our setup function or inside our draw function, we would only be able to access it inside those functions. So we put it at the top so we can access it everywhere. So let's start filling it in. So we're going to call it our spaceship as our name. We're going to give it an X value, a Y value, a diameter, so D, and the last one we're going to have is speed, which is initially 0, but we're going to change that later on. So the next thing we want to do is run it and see what happens. So there's no errors, which is good. And we get a circle appear. But this circle is not the spaceship. This is the circle from last time. So if we comment that out, so it doesn't actually run there, we're going to get nothing. So how do we get our spaceship to appear on the screen? So instead of having 40, 40, and 20 hard-coded, we can say spaceship.x to get our x value from the spaceship object and use that as the x coordinate for our circle. We can do the same for the y value, and you guessed it, the last one is going to be d, so that gives us our diameter of the circle. So if we run that, we're going to get our spaceship appear here at position 100 across, 200 down, diameter of 30, and a speed of 0, not that that really matters for the circle drawing. So if I was to change this to be, say, 200 and 400, it's going to change our spaceship position. And if we change our diameter, it's going to change it as well. And speed we can change for now, but doesn't really do anything. So we'll put it back as it was. Okay. So let's talk about the movement of the spaceship due to gravity. So we know that gravity makes things fall down. So think about what property of the spaceship we might want to use in this case. So we've got an X and a Y component for our spaceship, as well as a diameter and a speed. Obviously, these two aren't really related to the motion of the spaceship just yet. So let's look at the X and the Y. So we know our X direction is going to be going from left to right, and gravity only works in the vertical direction, so up and down. So we know it's going to have to be our Y value that we're going to be changing. So gravity is a two-step process to implement in our code. So the first step is to change how fast the ship should be falling. And the second step is to change the Y value, so the position of the ship, by how far it should be going. So this is probably a little bit confusing, so let's look at the code for it. So the first step is to increase the speed property of the ship. So you would say spaceship.speed, and then plus equals, which is the same as saying spaceship.speed equals spaceship.speed plus gravity. This is just like a shorthand form. So we're saying the speed of the spaceship is going to be the original speed of the spaceship plus the gravity value, which we defined earlier at the top of our code. And then the second part of our gravity implementation is to have the y position of the ship increase by the spaceship's current speed value, which we've updated in the previous line. So let's have a look at that now in code. So we've got our spaceship defined up here, and after we've drawn it, we can start to implement the gravity. So we can say spaceship.speed plus equals, and then we can say gravity. And what that will do is set the value of spaceship.speed, which is initially 0, to be equal to its current value, plus the value of gravity, which is always going to be 0.5, which we've defined up here. And then the second part we're going to be doing is spaceship.y plus equals spaceship.speed. So we're going to increase, because we're doing plus equals, we're going to be increasing our value of spaceship's y position by its current speed value. So if we run our code now, we're going to see that it falls off the screen quite quickly. So if we wanted to, we could change the value of gravity to be like 0.05, for instance, which would make it fall kind of like it's on the moon. But let's put that one back to 0.5. The other thing we can do is add in some form of air resistance. Without getting too technical, it just means it's not going to accelerate quite as fast. So to do that, we could do something like spaceship dot speed equals spaceship dot speed times by 0.9. So what this will do is decrease the spaceship speed by a small amount. So it's nearly multiplying it by 1, but it's a little bit less than 1. So it'll make the speed a little bit less than what it is, which will hopefully make it fall a little bit slower. So if you run it again, you can see it doesn't fall off the screen quite as fast. If I comment it out and compare it, that's pretty fast. And then with air resistance, it's a little bit slower, but I'll let you work out if you want to have that in or not, or change the numbers around. But at the bare minimum, you need to have these two lines in here so that the spaceship will start to fall off the screen. So the next part of the ship's motion we're going to talk about is getting it to fly. So every time we press the up arrow key, we want the ship to move up the screen a small amount. So to do this, we're going to use two built-in functions that come in the P5 library. The first function we're going to use is the key pressed function, and this gets called automatically for us every time we press a key on the keyboard. And once we've used this function, inside here we can then check to see which particular key was pressed by using the key is down function, which takes in a parameter. So this parameter in our case is going to be the up underscore arrow, and that means it'll be checking to see specifically if the up arrow key has been pressed. And if it has been pressed, we then want to change a particular property of the spaceship object and cause it to move up. So the next video we'll go through the solution to this, but for now have a think about what property we'd be modifying, and also have a think about where we want to put this snippet of code. Keep in mind that the key pressed function is called automatically for us by P5.